Welcome to another sustainability podcast with me, Toby Webb. Joining me in this podcast is Ramon Arratia, who is the European Sustainability Director for Interface. So, how are you, Ramon?
Good. How are you, Toby?
Very well, very well. We've been doing a podcast series with Interface, and in this podcast, as the Sustainability Director for Europe, I wanted to ask you a bit about the numbers and how you're going on overall performance. But before we do that, why don't you give us an overview of your team, your structure, your setup in the business, and what your average working week looks like?
Okay, so basically, my job is two things. One is to set up the strategy for Interface to achieve Mission Zero in Europe, and that includes looking at products, company impacts, business models, etc. And then my other half of the job is try to communicate externally and internally and try to make a commercial gain and a business case both internally and externally. The way I've been in different structures in my 5 years at Interface, I've been reporting to sales at some point, I've been reporting to marketing at some point, and there is where I had 3 people in the team looking at internal communications, for example, looking at external communications, looking at product information. And now I'm on my own. So I report to the Chief Innovations Officer, and it works more in dotted line. So I'm incorporated with the innovation team. So now, because now we have to do a lot of innovations around products. Then the marketing now, one person who worked in my team is now the head of branding. So she deals with all the marketing related stuff and is very well experienced. So she handles with that. And then the operations, they've been working on sustainability for many years. They just need some guidance and some encouragement and inspiration on doing certain things, but they do most of that things themselves. Within operations, there is a QUESH department, quality, health, safety, and environment, that they are looking at the ecometrics at factory level.
Okay, and your typical working week, what does that look like?
It really, there is no typical working week. 1 week I can be working from home in the countryside in Spain, doing some thinking and having some conference calls. Other week I would be in London meeting other sustainability managers, going to a conference, doing speaking events. Another week I could be in Copenhagen or Stockholm, either visiting clients or looking at industry. Type of gatherings, and another week I could be in the factory, for example, here in the Scherpense in the Netherlands.
Okay, now give us the numbers on Mission Zero. Where are you at the moment? Interface is very well known for its 1994 journey onwards towards Mission Zero. Where are you? Are we inside the last furlong?
I think we're getting closer, and we're advancing. It's very difficult to put a number, and depends on how you look at it. How do you define Mission Zero? Do you define just your direct impacts? Do you define your product impacts? Do you define your how you change the whole business model? So I can give you some of the insights on the different metrics. So you look at direct impacts. In Europe, we are close to get zero landfill, and we've had a really minimum landfill for the last 6 months, and we are almost close to zero landfill. We have reduced water around 95% since 1996. That's our all direct water used in manufacturing. And in terms of carbon, since January the 1st, 2014, we are operating around 90 or more reduction of carbon, direct GHG emissions versus 1996.
Okay.
Difficult to put a number of how you do overall. We'll be operating on 100% renewable energy, not only the electricity, which is the easy bit, but also the gas, biogas. That's on the let's say direct footprint. But Interface direct footprint is only 10% of the overall, let's say, carbon footprint of a carpet tile. And I talk a lot about carbon because we have recently done an analysis of economic analysis of the different costs of a carpet tile, all based on the information from our environmental product declaration, and overall 90% of the costs are carbon. So that's why we focus a lot on carbon. We did the same model. We work with true cost and 90% of carbon. So that's why we really focus on carbon. Maybe for a tomato it's mainly water, but for a carpet it's a lot about carbon. That's where our impact is. So once you know that 10% is your direct impact, you really need to look at product lenses. That's why the whole approach on life cycle assessment and full transparency, and that's why we committed to have all our products with environmental product declarations. And when you look at our environmental product declarations, you see that more or less a typical carpet tile of today is around 10 kilograms of CO2. If you look at other type of older carpets or carpets with thicker pile, like the typical wall-to-wall carpet, you can get to 20. You can get even much more impact. For example, some of the wool carpet, even much more impacts. When you look at the innovations and in terms of managing your product impacts, it's about substituting some raw materials, putting more recycled content in your raw materials, and reducing the amount of raw materials overall, and substituting some of the high carbon raw materials for low carbon raw materials. But also, you are looking into selling more of the products with less impact and less of the product with more impact. Overall, if you look from 2008 to 2012, the European business wide portfolio, the average carbon footprint has been reduced by around 27%, which I think it's when you look at the actual impacts, is more than us getting close to the 90% indirect footprint. So that I think has been a great achievement, but obviously we have a long way to go on that, and how far you can go, it would be difficult, but there is, I think, a lot of possibilities there. And then it's about looking at also circularity. That is difficult to measure, but it's about taking some of the products back, looking at recycling waste from other industries, like fishing nets that are made of nylon. We're recycling that into our products through partners, that suppliers like Aquafil. And so this is this is more difficult to measure, but at direct footprint and a product footprint, we have a really good picture on where we are and the possibilities.
What's the biggest couple of challenges in the next 5 years?
Finding cheap or at good cost raw materials that are either recycled or bio-based or just low footprint or super low footprint, that can be accessible at a reasonable cost. So this, I think, is one of the big challenges that we face. Also, how we can make business models such as circular services in general, like how can we have a business model based on maintaining, cleaning the carpet, making the carpet last for longer, and then taking back the carpet, and how can we do that at massive scale, not at a small scale? That's another big challenge that we're facing.
How seriously has your environmental product declaration campaign that you've been waging for a few years, how seriously has that been taken outside the company?
We have most of the competitors having an EPD. Do they have EPDs for all the products like us? No. But most of the competitors now, they have EPDs. When I mean competitors, it's not only the carpet companies. They are starting to, the laminate flooring companies, they are starting to produce, and the whole industry. Because the good thing of the construction industry was the standardization of environmental product declarations. And through the norm 15804. So then you have any type of building material to have to follow the same rules across Europe, so that a manufacturer of a furniture or a manufacturer of carpet or a manufacturer of cement can have the same rules and the same format. And an EPD made in Germany could be recognized by a building standard in Spain and vice versa. So there is a lot of costs for manufacturers to pay for the English standard, pay for the German standard, and because sometimes there can be a lot of when in sustainability, my view is that there is a lot of certification sharks, and that the costs of doing sustainability in certification can be very high, and then there is a lot of protectionist measures and people trying to be protectionist about their local national standard. So standardization and one single market, which is what Europe is for, I think is very helpful. And in our construction sector, this has been achieved.
What role has your campaign played there, do you think? I'm curious to get your view on, what one small company can achieve. So what's your sense of how big a role the interface exploration of standardization and rollout of EPDs has had across Europe?
We were the first company to commit to that all our products would have EPDs. We were very vocal about it. We were very educational about it. But the work had already started by these standardization people. So people from different flooring associations, people from different building material associations, they got together, and the people, for example, like GUT, which is the Institute for the Environment of Carpet, they got together with the institute, with the association for other type of flooring products, and they started to build this standard. The PE International, for example, a provider of the Gabi database, was very instrumental as well in driving this forward. And there were some, the Germans, like a DGMB standard, who was a standard from the beginning designed so that the products with the least impact would have more points on that standard, rather than the typical tick box standard of and then you certify this product, and then it's okay to use it in the standard, etc. So there were a lot of let's say geeks of standardization and sustainability doing the work. What Interface, I think, did was realizing that this could enable architects and designers to have better decisions, and we did a big campaign on EPDs starting in 2009, I think. And I think we somehow made it be so visible that for some companies they would have like a social stigma not to have it. So more and more companies have become to do EPDs. The costs for EPDs are being cut, and they will have to be cut. And many companies say, "Oh, you have only one product. What about us that we have a lot of products?" Well, we have nutrition data for supermarkets. How many products have a supermarket? And they all have nutrition data. Why? Because getting those data of nutrition is now very cheap, because it has been standardized. Everybody is doing it, and there are people specialized in obtaining that information. We will get to that point for EPDs, where EPDs are cheap and EPDs are easy to obtain.
Great. Well, let's leave that there. Ramon, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.